I'm Nkuli Mbundu and you're watching Joburg Today.
One of the new faces in council, but more specifically in the mayoral executive, comes in the form of Mr. Nkuli Mbundu, and he's in charge of the Department of Economic Development. I'm Nkululeko, and this is For the Record. MMC Nkuli Mbundu, thank you so much for your time. Mbundu, what can you tell us about yourself? Give us a brief highlight of your political career.
Gigi, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on the program. Interestingly enough, I'm not a politician. I've never been. Yes, I've been an activist. I grew up in a political family, highly political. But I never really played a role in politics. I've been in corporate all my life, 25 years in the technology sector, working in South Africa, in the rest of Africa, and overseas as well. So when you look at the mayoral committee today, I think I'm one or maybe one of two out of the entire that has never been in politics, that come from the private sector, who said, I'm going to roll up my sleeve, I'm going to fight this inept, kleptocratic government, and we want to restore good governance, we want to restore trust in governance. We also want to change the perspective of what government is. Because today, government has got a face of corruption, 100%. Ineptitude, that has been brought through by patronage and so on. But we can change it. Just
getting into the business of the day, your top 3 priorities for the portfolio that you now occupy?
Look, Johannesburg is the heartbeat of Africa, right? If Joburg sneezes, not only South Africa catches a cold, it is Africa, right? So you've got to make Joburg work. And how do you make Joburg work? Number one, you've got to create job opportunities. But government is not an employment agency. Business, private business, SMMEs and corporates are the ones that create jobs. So number one, you've got to create a business-friendly environment. Now that's a broad term. How do you create a business-friendly environment? Number one, you've got to make it safe. You've got to clean it up, which talks to how we work with the other departments. Make it safe, bring back the rule of law, ensure that bylaws are adhered to, and then create incentives for business to invest in the city and ensure that you can uplift people and SMMEs in particular, because SMMEs are really the engine of our economy. We've got to create a space for SMMEs to grow and thrive. And how you do that? You remove red tape. Today, government is riddled with red tape. We've come from a system of patronage. It's about who you know than what you know. That has got to go. So you've got to professionalize the public service space to ensure that it is very responsive to the people. But remember that government is chosen by the people.
Yes.
We are servants of the people. Our incomes are paid for either by tax payers or by rate payers. So therefore we are there to serve. So we've got to demystify this whole thing about government employees being some sort of a mystical being, So you've got to create a business-friendly environment to make sure that you attract business in.
We spoke a little about private sector partnership with local government. How significant do you think that is?
Massive. It's massive. I think private sector partnerships have to be prioritized. We come from a system of tendering, where government procures the services and government is going to execute the services. I think we need to change that mindset and that system. You've got to bring partnerships, make it easier. So eliminate the red tape. Start to put in place policies that allow for big business to be able to do business with the state as well as with the general public. If you think about Joburg 30 years ago, you had all big businesses inside of the city. Today, Anglo is divesting, it's leaving 100%. The city. A number of big corporate companies have left the city simply because it is unsafe. Bylaws are not effected, and the rule of law just does not exist. But if you look at the countries that have been successful, is where I can live in the city and walk to work and back, and it's safe.
Yes.
So you're going to be in a position where you partner with the private sector in ensuring that they have the confidence that their investment will pay back, but also their social investment, ends up where it's intended to end up in. So a couple of things we need to do. I think we first and foremost is bylaws, enforce bylaws, make sure that you create a safe space to be in, and number two, create programs for private sector that are meaningful for their strategies,
Yes.
to ensure that they can operate within that space, right? We've got assets, we've got rich assets, we've got rich culture, rich assets, a rich history. They want to be associated with that, right? But they want to make sure that, they report to stakeholders. Most of these are listed companies. You want to make sure that every cent that they spend in the city has a return. 100%. Businesses are in business to make profit, right? So you create a platform where they can profit from it. Because I think, in general, I think people have lost confidence in government because of the association of government and corruption. So, I'm maybe 3 days into this office. I'm going to spend some time with the heads of department to understand where they are against the scorecards. Even those scorecards, are they correct to start with? We've got to review that through the processes and ensure that you can transform the way that they operate, right? And then educate the general public about why it is important to have bylaws. And I believe that once people understand why it's important, then you can get the buy-in. They can become shareholders. We've got to drive a culture of being shareholders in this big project called Johannesburg. The people of the North, generally, I'm just being general, hardly ever walk down, Joburg streets.
Absolutely.
And yet the people from the townships, because of the spatial development framework, somebody that has to work in Sandton has got to travel into the city center and then into Sandton, are exposed to what is happening today. So we've got to be in a position to get everybody else, as a melting pot you mentioned, to understand the importance of this center called Johannesburg. And that's going to take a lot of work in terms of getting that education program out and getting them to understand, and to also restore the pride in who we are, where we are, and appreciate the value of this city of gold. And gold not as in the mineral, but as the people, as the culture. We've got probably the richest culture in the world. We've got to be able to sell that and try and bring that confidence back to the people.